What's up?
Sparky coach, pod. Another day in paradise. Blue skies, 30 degrees, I reckon. Surf's pumping. It's good to be alive.
Cricket coming up. What a time.
Cricket's happening. Summer's here. Christmas is just around the corner. You can smell the ham in the oven, the roast chickens, the beers, the champagne. It's all flowing. It's good times. Um, can get a little bit crazy this time of year. Can get a little bit crazy. You can also go a little bit too crazy. Too many Christmas parties. A little bit too much Christmas cheer. But it's a good time of year. I really enjoy it. And I think probably on that is that I think it's really important that you do enjoy it as well. Like it is a good time of year. I'll like put my hand up and say honestly and openly that in the past, like I feel like I've probably got caught up a bit too much in like people pleasing or hey yeah we can get that done for you knowing full well we can't get it done. So I think just whenever you go get around this time of year, just find out what's important to you and enjoy it. Particularly if you've got kids or a family that Christmas carols and like events and things like that in particular. I think it's really important to get around them and enjoy it.
I remember this one year, right? We were so busy, which is quite a normal thing for anyone with that
Yeah,
ongoing work to get into at this time of year. It's the only deadline of the whole year, that magical line in the sand where it's like, this has to get done before the 23rd, or it's
yeah,
literal life or death. When, like, it's funny, removing yourself from the situation a lot, you go, that's actually not life or death. There's plenty of bigger issues in the world than this PowerPoint getting fit off, you know? But
yes,
I think that's one of the common traits of why people get into business in the first place is because they care. And that's such a fantastic trait. But you can also care a little bit too much. I'm not telling you to be careless, but I'm telling you to care less.
yeah. No, I totally understand what you mean. Yeah, like
But okay, so this one Christmas we were really busy, and I remember I don't know if we must have had a couple of staff at that time, not too many, maybe two or three or something.
yeah,
And I remember coming in hot, overbooking, overcooking, just ridiculous, doing huge hours, and I remember distinctly like I just shouted out. Whatever day it is now, the 25th of December, go and make sure you have a Christmas tree set up on the 1st. That's really important, whether you're single and ready to mingle, or you've already mingled and you've got some kits or whatever, right? It doesn't really matter, but make sure Christmas is a special time. But this one year, it was the 23rd of December. It actually might have even been Christmas Eve. Like I could have been working Christmas Eve. You know, those Christmas Eves that fall upon like a Tuesday or
yeah. Fall
whatever.
in the week.
And I remember waking up in the morning and I'm like, I had to go to this guy's house in Maroubra, like South City, I guess you would say, about 40 minutes from my house at the time, and do something which I had budgeted 4 hours for, which was probably a full day's worth of work. I had to go to another job, then another job, and then another job. And I was staring down the barrel of like, this day is psycho. I have not done any Christmas presents shopping at all. Get up. We were living in
So
a unit.
stressed.
Yeah, we're living in a unit in Cronulla at the time, right? So
Yeah,
I get up and I'm like, okay, sweet, get my bag, like get out the door, and I'm like, can't find my keys. I must have left them in the car. Not that uncommon, you know. So,
yeah,
sometimes it happens. So I go out and when you park at a unit, and we didn't have a spot because we had a garage, but I used that for like the tent boxes and just
yeah.
storage and stuff, and probably just old stuff from the house, bits and pieces. Anyway, so go out. I'm like, did I park here? Nah. I think I parked around this corner. Did like a couple of laps of the block. Can't find a car. Come back into the house, and I was like, there'd been a glass of water knocked over, and our back door was wide open, which once again wasn't that uncommon at that point for us.
Yeah.
And anyway, so I'm like, holy crap, we've been robbed, right? So we actually were robbed at this point with like not ground floor, elevated first floor unit, I guess, so not that hard to climb up. So unwritten hiace gone. So call the cops come round, and they can't actually report it missing for like 2 weeks or something like that. Like it's not actually listed as missing for 2 weeks, although it is definitely missing. So anyway, van goes missing, and I remember just like one of the first thoughts was just relief for me. I was like, oh, thank God, I don't have to do those jobs. like I overbooked myself. But it's so interesting to talk about, because I'm like, well, I remember Elodie went out and got like a little Christmas tree, like when I say little one, probably maybe a bit bigger than your forearm, depending on how big your forearms are. Side note, one day when I was starting out, I had this subcontractor come work for me named Brendan. And he legit had the biggest forearms you've ever seen in your whole life. Like, I'm talking, there's no way these things would go up like a 90 mil downlight hole, let alone like a 200 mil downlight hole. To the point where the builders and stuff on site were going, that guy's forearms are massive. This is like abnormally sized forearms. Maybe the best I've seen in the land. Who knows? Anyway, van got stolen, and the crazy thing is there's so much going on with that. Replacement tools, and I was like, was the chaser in there? Was this in there? I got no idea. Or your ladders, or your just other stuff you might have had. I had $6,000 cash on the ground next to where my keys were that I'd come in and then thrown on the ground at that point, right? Like, you don't just get paid like that sometimes, and you just get a little bit like, just throw it on the ground or in the undie drawer or whatever. Yeah. People still have undie drawers, maybe. I guess so, whatever. Anyway, but it was crazy. I remember just being like, wow, why was I taking everything so seriously? Like, it's the van got stolen and we had to get a new one eventually, which probably wasn't the end of the world. But like, I remember just going like, Christmas wasn't a priority. It wasn't a joyful time of year. It was a stressful time of year. Yeah. And I'm like, it could have been joyful if I was a little bit more prepared, if I was a little bit organised, if I was a little bit more... if I was a little bit less insecure, like instead of just trying to please everyone. Anyway, crazy times. But I remember getting my Christmas shopping done and telling people that I couldn't come and having like an actual excuse. I actually can't get there. So it was pretty rare for me not to get to places like that, because I was pretty like, if I said I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it. But it was so nice to have an actual excuse. Like, I physically, even if I wanted to, I can't, because I can't drive there. Crazy. Christmas joy. Get around it.
That's a good story. That's probably the best excuse I've ever heard. Yeah, sorry, car got stolen.
You can't argue with it, right?
No, mate, can't. And they're like, and they're generally probably then pretty empathetic towards you to be like, oh man, that's like pretty, like the shoe goes on the other foot sort of thing towards you. They're like, oh geez, that sucks, man. Like, you know, have a good Christmas, sort of like emoji thumbs up sort of thing. Like, good luck with it all. Anyway, interesting. But yeah, so I think, make sure you enjoy the good times. Really good time of year, and I feel like a lot of the pressures we put on ourselves, we create this. So you sort of mentioned it then. It's like that you've created a completely unachievable day, basically. Like, you've put in, I'll do 8 hours of work when the first job is an 8-hour job, and you've added in 4 other jobs after it. So just you create this. Like, you wind yourself up almost of like, I can do that, when like sometimes it's just you got to say no. Like, it's just a simple, sorry, I can't do that. And, you know, I mean, I don't know if you've ever I've had it before where, like, I've said no to people, and then they sort of get on, like, their high horse a little bit, and they're like, they start, like, attacking you, and you're like, that's cool. Like, literally, all I just said was, no, I can't help you, sorry. Like, I didn't, like, do anything else. Some of them, it's really funny, you talk to, if I know them pretty well, which is, like, if I don't know them from a bar of soap, like, it's literally, meh. Like, I don't care. It's like hang up halfway through their conversation. But if I know them, past customer or existing customer or something like that, generally, like, I'll ring them up a few days later if there's time, or there's a week or something like that. And I would say nearly 9 times out of 10 they apologise, sort of thing. There's like, I was just really, like, I was under the pump. I was really stressed. I didn't need to react like that. You know, it's not that big of a deal. So yeah, it's just interesting. Don't place too much pressure on yourself, I think. Because with the pressure, it sort of sucks the joy out of things that should be a joyful time of year. And I think it's a great time of year in Australia. Summer, get outdoors. Everyone's generally in a pretty good mood too.
Agree. Yeah.
So, like, why should you be the Grinch? You know, you should be enjoying it. But anyway, I just wanted to... I guess that's a public service announcement, I guess, maybe.
A little bit public service, a little bit just, you know, what's the point of doing something you're eternally mad at? You know, like, but my reflection of my journey is like just taking it way too seriously. Yeah, at times, like literally like it was life or death. And in reality, someone's security system got installed on the 7th of Jan rather than the 23rd of December.
Yeah, and have you ever had the like that we need this job done, and you're like, it's just this, it's not gonna, it doesn't matter if we're here or not, like there's still other trades to finish, and you sort of just like, and I remember that used to really like work me up to be like, oh, I don't know how we're going to get this done because the carpet layer's coming in on Friday and there's no wall installed yet, which means we can't actually fit off. And I used to get really worked up, and like you said, it's a good thing because you care. Now it's just like, hey man, we'll get this done, and then we're back on the like 7th of January or 6th of January sort of thing. And invariably having that conversation with people as well, and also to like set some boundaries. Like if you've got the, I always liken the Friday at the end of the year as we have a bit of a clean up and a bit of a pack up. So that's an expectation that you have for your business, that you need to do that. So if you don't do that, the flow-on effect into the new year is almost, I would say, catastrophic, because we utilize it to get everything in order, a bit tidy, a bit clean. It's like we finished this year, we put it all in like a nice box, everything clean and ready to go. So like you're starting on the front foot. Otherwise, you're back behind the 8 ball. Just a really interesting one to sort of get around and enjoy it. And I think most people can, like, the job can wait, invariably speaking. And touching on what you talked about, Crowie, before, like, it is just it's literally an imaginary line, because I would say the day after, everyone just returns to normal. It's like if you speak to people, it's like, oh, hey man, like, yeah, we'll get to that in the new year. Like when you come back, people just like, most people are like, oh yeah, if you just get it done in the next week or two, that's cool. And you're like, how come it was such a big deal beforehand? But yeah, I think it can really play on us, and it can affect a good time of year, I think. And that's probably where I sort of go back to a little bit, that it is really good time of year. Like it is a time of year that you can actually enjoy yourself, and you can actually kick back. The phone's not going to be ringing because a lot of people are away, and things like that. And if you don't get that chance to enjoy it, you get a lot of resentment building up and a lot of hate.
Yeah, and I think it's it highlights a lot of things. We did a really good December Jan podcast way back when, maybe like 4, 6, 8 weeks ago, or something like gold jacket, green jacket. But just goes to highlight, like now we're actually rubber hits the road, probably December 1 when this podcast comes out, something like that. Like, but go to all the Christmas parties you get invited to. Don't be too busy to break some bread and play some golf and have some skewies or kombuchas, depending on which way you sort of flow on the scheme of life, circle of life, Elton John style. But you've got to like enjoy your time, get really organised. Where you literally got X amount of days now to go, so get them all dialed in. If you find yourself in the luxurious position of being quiet, I think that can actually be a secret weapon, a bit of a Nando's secret sauce. Shout out to my brother-in-law, Chris Collins, who won 2 Arias last week. Can you believe that? With his work with Royal Otis. Amazing. But also grilled some chicken up yesterday. Insane. With some secret sauce he wouldn't tell me about. And I'm like,
wow.
No. Yeah. I felt like stabbing him with his own Aria. I was like, yeah, give it to me.
Give me that paperweight.
I actually want to use it as a paperweight. I was like, can I have it? Anyway, we'll talk about that later. But anyway, it's just like, you've just you got to basically go, okay, there's X amount of days left at this point, if you're quiet, you're going to have an organic opportunity to maybe get a job that someone else throws off. So make it kind of known you're quiet at this point. I'd be shouting it from the rooftop, and I'd be posting it on socials, going like, we have a gap or something like that. Like, I wouldn't be posting, we're quiet. I wouldn't be advertising anyway. But I'd be shouting out, we have gaps, we have had jobs postponed and bits and pieces like that, because chances are someone's going to be too busy and they're going to let down their best client, a good client, because a lot of things don't close as well. So a lot of commercial stuff doesn't close. A lot of cafes don't close. A lot of industrial stuff, anything manufacturing might continue on as normal. They have their couple of days, public holidays off. Like, I think in the trade world, sometimes you can kind of think it's normal to have 3 weeks off, when a lot of people just flow through as usual, just taking the public holidays as public holidays, you know. And coming from where I was, Sutherland Shire, shout out to the old town, the old town. Everyone was pretty much a school teacher or a tradie when I grew up. So everyone has like 4 weeks off because it's like, oh, we're off, you know. But it's actually not that normal in the inner city to have 3 or 4 weeks off. Like things keep going. And the world keeps turning, the wheels keep spinning. So can you get in front of someone or service someone that someone else can't? And once you do that, I think everyone I know would have a story about like, oh, the existing person didn't answer their phone. The existing person was too busy. So I went in for like a $200 job and now I've got this $200,000 client a year. Everyone I know has got a story like that.
100%.
And so if you can land on the right side of that and not the wrong side of it, so the cons of being too busy with no gaps is that you still need to be able to service the people that need servicing. So if you're preempting, I think service is interesting. You've got to preempt service. Like you have to have some gaps in the schedule. And when you've got a small team, it's hard to impossible to schedule because you only have a couple of pawns on the board that could be turned to queens, right? There's only so many people that can actually go and do that job. But on a larger team, the reality of 15 people being urgent or 25 people being urgent or 10 people being urgent right there and is pretty low, I would say. Surely someone can go for 3 hours and do something, but on a team of 2 or 3, you have limited options, limited access, limited hours. So it's like, you know, but can you pick something up that someone else dropped? Or if that person does call in the busyness, most of the general nature is to get angry at someone. Like, what is this dickhead calling me for? You idiot! God, you know, I'm too busy. So it's like, just don't take your anger out on someone that is a great client. And busyness clouds that so much when you can be like, gah!
No, I agree. It's, you know, when this does drop, it'll be probably a few weeks before Christmas finishes up. But even take it as a learning for when you roll into your next Christmas period. Just probably a couple of things that I wanted to highlight there is that really get your schedule in order. Like, find out what you got to be doing, what hasn't been done. Biggest killers in the world are going to be the jobs that never finish or aren't finished. You know, oh, we've just got to go back to that. Just got to go back to it. So, like, I know for us personally and for me personally, that's pretty much our week this week. In the last week in November, we close out all the things that have sort of been hanging over our head for like the last month or two, or try to get them closed out as best as possible. Couple of fold, it works is because it gets closed out and it's finished. Gives the ability to invoice it out as well. Gives you the ability to highlight, is there anything that needs to be done, like before the end of the year? Because you still got, you know, we've got time. We can fit in bits and pieces here and there. It gives you sort of like a clean line in the sand of like, okay, sweet, we're only going to start a new one from next week, or, you know, there are continuing ones, but any of those like lingering, hanging over your head sort of ones, get them sorted before you start jumping onto anything else. And then have a look what's on the board, right? And fill it out. Get the people in the schedule. Have a look. Where are the gaps? What needs to be done, right? Then start throwing stuff into January, right? And I think this is the trick. Like Crowie said, we've all got the story where we picked up that amazing client because someone dropped the ball. Don't be that person. Don't be that company. So give yourself some buffers in your schedule if you need to service your clients, right? And I'm going to say this across the board for everyone. Everyone's going to get that phone call of, can you be here? Could be a storm that comes through somewhere. It could be something like that, hey, we need to do it. So give yourself a buffer. Don't book it so tight that you can't get to it. That you can't add anything into it because you don't want to be that person. Do you need to have a chat to the guys about doing a sad day? Guys and girls to be like, hey, can we get a sad day in here? Can we get a bit of extra work done so that you are feeling good? Because I can tell you right now, last week of the year, right, it's going to fill itself, right? There's going to be jobs that go over time, the jobs that didn't get, they weren't ready, so they had got pushed out, right? Realistically, your last week of the year is really only a 4-day week, right? Because the last day of the year, you're tidying things up, right? You don't want to be Crowie. You don't want to be going to 8 jobs in a van that doesn't exist, right? So have a look how you can plan it. What can you move to the new year? What can you get done? Like, have that conversation with the builder. Hey man, like in reality, when is this place actually going to be ready? And they're like, oh, hey mate, the clients' light fittings feature ones, they're not even arriving till January, and you're like, sweet, too easy. We'll come back in January. We don't need to be here right now. We don't need to finish it to that level. Have those conversations with people. Look at your schedule. I reckon you'll be busier than you think, because then in turn, what it does also gives the ability for that person who contacts you and is like, oh, hey, my other electrician let me down. Do you have any ability to do it? It's like, it's a clear yes or no answer. It's not yes, then you let them down. It's, look, we'd love to, but sorry, we can't. We're fully booked already. Or it's like, hey, yeah, we can, because I've been organised and I've got myself sorted. The other thing to do is making sure you're on top of doing, we talked about this in the last podcast, but it gives you the ability to understand what jobs are coming up, so you can get your invoices out and your orders in, because don't forget, suppliers will start shutting down earlier than you think, right? Also, other people shut down, so if you don't get the invoices in, they won't pay you because they're not there also. So you want to get your invoices in basically the beginning of the last week to give people time.
Weekly invoices no matter what, unless it's like legit the end of the world and Will Smith's coming after you with some dog with rabies.
Agreed, yeah. So just have a look, get yourself ordered, get yourself into order. Spend that 2 hours that you think you don't have. I can tell you, you do. Spend that 2 hours to get yourself organised, and you will actually really enjoy it. You might have your supply Christmas party this weekend, so then you can go to it because you're like, sweet, too easy. You might have your kids' Christmas carols coming up. You might have your nieces or your nephews. You might have your Christmas party at some point. Make sure those things are just as important as a job in the schedule. Might be having a whack of golf with one of your suppliers. Put those things in because they're just as important. I would actually say they're probably more important than the job.
I reckon they're more important.
I reckon they're more. So they need to go in the schedule first, and then you need to work the job around you. Easiest way that I found to alleviate a little bit of pressure, like I said before, have a look at cracking out a Saturday this weekend, and you'll be surprised if you get your whole team on board. A lot of your issues evaporate pretty quickly.
Well, doesn't it go to show that, and I think most tradies would be pretty similar, like the first thing to get your time back is like, oh, I just want to go to the kids' class 1 play, or I just want to go for that golf day, when in fact, like, family and relationships are more important than on-site work. You know, so it's so interesting to reflect on, and you know, maybe you're not in a position where you can go to all the school plays and stuff at this point if you've got kids, but you should be gearing up for next year. It should be a non-negotiable. I mean, all the things that need to be produced, because you get an X amount of small window at that, and that's it, and that's really important. And I know why. It's so interesting to talk about, because it wouldn't be that far down the food chain when you ask someone why they started their business. It'd be like time and money for what? For me and the family. That's probably really interlinked and interlaced with that. So just make sure the carpet matches the drapes, your goals and your direction is matching your decisions. And that's where we get alignment, which is interesting. But yeah, I would be making sure you're at every single something that you could be at socially, because you're breaking bread with people, get to know people, and that's where the job's going to come. That's where if you fall quiet, you can bounce onto the wholesaler who's got a good friend that needs some more work done, and bits and pieces like that. So yeah, make sure you're looking after the real issues. And on that too, coming back to what you were saying, like even something little like going, okay, so the STCs obviously in solar change year to year at January 1. So it's like, okay, what is it changing to? And what is the actual cost? And are you better off just putting that job back, that 5-day job back into Jan, absorbing that cost and doing the actual work in your hand? Like, you got to think, a lot of people are paying for leads, cost per acquisition kind of thing. So what would you pay for that client that comes at you in December 17 that needs that job done, that's pretty urgent, it's a 10 grand job, a 20 grand job, $100, there's no $100 job, but you got to say like $200 job, that's an amazing client. Can we service that and take a hit on something else? Like, what can push back with little to no interruption? Super interesting, and everyone's going to be a little bit different. But just in this busy season, don't miss the forest from the trees or the trees from the forest. Try and work out what's actually important. Try and stick to your lane in that, and make sure your tree set up. Make sure you have a tree. Make sure it's decorated. Make sure you're part of the planning journey. You're part of the whole, you know what's happening. Too many tradies are like, oh, I don't know what we're doing over Christmas. Like get excited about that and get pumped about spending some time with the family. And yeah, that's my wrap up. Enjoy it.
Okay. No, just enjoy yourself. I think that's what it is. It's a great time of year, and I think that gets lost on us often. If I'm being honest, in business, you get really, really busy, and the next thing, it's sort of you get to Christmas Eve, and you're like, oh, I'm just gonna, have a couple of beers and relax. When really, like, you should have seen the Christmas lights. You should have gone to the Christmas carols. Could have gone to see, Santa at the beach with your nieces, nephews, kids. Insert special, people in your sort of life, and it's a small window in your life as well, where those special little people in your life get a lot of joy out of it. So, and also too, if you don't have that, there's just your friends, and it's a really good. I just think it's such a good time of the year for any stage of life that you're in. Whether you just got mates, family, friends, new, old, all that sort of stuff, it's a really good time. So get yourself organised, get yourself scheduled out so that you can enjoy the good time of year that it is.
And if you're still one of those adults getting photos on Santa's lap, we probably can't help you. That's your issue. You have big issues. See you later.
Catch up.